In this video, we got another episode of the Start Bench Cut series. You guys will let me know 3 different players on Twitter, X Evan Tanaka. I'll put out a tweet saying, give me 3 players for a Start Bench Cut video, and then you guys will let me know in the replies down below 3 different players. So for example, AJ said Taco, KP, and Mutombo, and then I'll have to tell you guys which out of the 3 I would start, bench, and then cut. So for this one, for example, at the power forward position, I would start Taco, bench Kristaps Porzingis, and then cut Mutombo if we're talking about power forward, because I do think as a card it might be a little bit different, but that's how I would do, you know, the 3 players. So for example, I'll go through Josh Giddey, Sengun, Barnes, say who I'd start, who I'd bench, and then who I would cut. So let me know 3 different players in the YouTube comment section. Let me know 3 different players down below, and I'll tell you guys who I would start, who I'd bench, and then who I would cut. But starting off here, once again from AJ's, he's going to say Jonathan Bender, Bill Russell, and Purvis Ellison at the 3. So in my opinion, I think these are the 3 best small forwards in the game. So it's going to be really close in ranking these 3 different guys. I think for me personally, I like Bill Russell as the best small forward in the game. I think his defense is so overlooked in the game. He's the best defender in the game, and he just impacts the defense so much more than anybody else in my team right now. And then I would say probably Purvis Ellison number 2. I think I've changed my mind. I think Purvis is slightly better than Jonathan Bender, so I'd start Bill Russell, bench Purvis Ellison, and then cut Jonathan Bender. But really close at that small forward position. Taco, KP, Mutombo, we already went over that one. Sengun, Jimmy Butler, and Ben Simmons. I think these are 3 amazing point guards in the game that are all very close. I would start Jimmy Butler though. I do think he's the 2nd best point guard in the game, and maybe even the best. I mean, he's just that good on the defensive end, and then does have some pretty good dribble sigs. Between Sengun and Ben Simmons, I've always said that Sengun is just Ben Simmons with a better jump shot, and I still think I stand behind that. He's basically Ben Simmons. They're both around the same height wingspan wise. You know, Sengun has a little bit better of a wingspan. Player model's about the same. Maybe Ben's a tiny bit better. I would say Ben's is probably better player model wise, but then you take a look at the stats. I mean, the biggest thing to look at is the plus 24 3 ball, and then everything else is relatively the same. I mean, plus 15 standing dunk is pretty cool. You know, defense is better for Sengun, at least on paper. Plus 5 block, plus 7 interior defense. I mean, the lateral quickness is a little bit lower, but if you look at stats, I mean, all around Sengun's got the better stats. If you look at the badges, I mean, the badge count's going to be very similar. I mean, I would say Sengun's got a lot more gold shooting badges. Playmaking wise, about the same. I mean, Hall of Fame unpluckable is a little bit better for a card like Sengun, and then defensively, that's where Ben Simmons does have the better defensive hops with pick dodger, menace, clamps. Like clamps is a huge one, and glove as well, even challenger. So that's where Ben Simmons does make up for in the badge category. But then it comes down to the animations, where I think that Sengun's got a way better jump shot, like not even close in my opinion. Jump shot, yeah, like I said, Sengun's a lot better. Dribble sigs, Kyle Lowry size up is a lot better than the Ben Simmons size up, like that's not even close. And then the Trae Young escape is the best escape in the game compared to Kobe Bryant. It's still a good escape, but the Trae Young escape is so much better than the Kobe escape. And then behind the back, Sengun's got the Dame, where Ben Simmons does have the Kawhi. So if you look at everything on paper, on 2KDB, you look at the animations, you even look at the tendencies, they're about the same. I mean, Ben Simmons does have a little bit better on-ball steal tendency, but if you look at the badges, you look at the stats, you look at the animations, I mean, it all says Sengun. Now, you might say, oh, well, in game, Ben Simmons is the better rebounder, or like he plays a little bit better defense because of his player model. I think that's perfectly cool to say. I mean, they're very close at the point guard position. I would just personally take Sengun because of the plus 24 3 ball, the way better jump shot, and the way better dribble sig. So for me, I would say start Jimmy Butler, bench Sengun, and then cut Ben Simmons. Next one is going to be Dikembe, Kareem, and D-Rob. Now, I don't know what position he's talking about because they can all play the 4 and they can all play the 5. So if we're talking about at the center position, I would say it's going to be in this order: Dikembe, Kareem, D-Rob. Now, if it's at power forward, I would say it's probably going to be D-Rob, Kareem, Dikembe is most likely what I would go for. So kind of flipped actually, yeah. So if it's centers, it's Dikembe, Kareem, D-Rob, and then if it's power forwards, it's flipped. D-Rob number 1 starting, Kareem benched, and then Dikembe getting cut. So that's kind of how I'd rank these 3 cards. I mean, Dikembe I think is better at the center position than both of these guys, but then I do think D-Rob is better at the 4 than a Kareem or a Dikembe. Next one is going to be Josh Giddey, Sengun, and Barnes. I think for me, it really comes down to Sengun and Barnes. I think Josh Giddey's going to have to get cut. He's not a bad point guard. I mean, I don't like hate Josh Giddey. 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, does have some pretty good dribble sigs. I mean, the card can move, he can go to the basket, jump shot's a little bit questionable. He's a very good point guard in the game, especially for his price tag. Don't get it twisted, like he is still a really good card. I just think Scotty Barnes and Sengun are just that much better, and I think It's really close between Scottie Barnes and Sengun. I think on paper, Sengun looks to be better. He's 6'10", has the defensive stats, but I actually prefer Scottie Barnes a little bit more. I think his sigs and movement is a little bit quicker than a Sengun. He just moves faster with the ball in his hands, and that's mainly due to the Steve Francis size up and the John Wall escape. Jump shot I also think is better on Scottie Barnes. Dunk packages are a little bit better, and then defensively in game, I think Scottie impacts the defense a little bit more than a card like Sengun. So for me personally, I would say start Scottie Barnes, bench Sengun, and then cut Josh Giddey. But between Sengun and Barnes, it is a really close debate. Next one is going to be Purvis, Ferry, and Bantam at the 3. I think it's just going to be in that order, starting Purvis, benching Ferry, and then cutting Mike Bantam. All really good small forwards. Now they all are RNG cards, so probably really hard to get. Not sure if anybody has actually all 3 of these cards, but if you guys do, I would start Purvis. I do think he's the second best small forward in the game, either 2 or 3 between him and Jonathan Bender. I think Ferry's really good, a little bit inconsistent of a jump shot, and not as good defensively as a card like Purvis. And then Bantam is solid, but I just think Purvis and Ferry are just that much better. Next one is going to be Ricky Davis, Glenn Rice, and Billy with the duo. So Billy with the duo does make stuff a little bit more confusing. I would say Ricky is easily, not easily, but I do think Ricky is the best shooting guard between the 3, so I would start Ricky Davis. I just think he's so nice on the offensive end, has one of my favorite releases in the game, good dribble sigs, great player model, great defense. I mean, the card's a lot better than I even expected him to be. So Ricky Davis, I would say, is going to be starting. And then between Glenn Rice and duo and Billy Knight with the duo, I think that's where stuff does get a little bit complicated, because I think without the duo, I would say it's most likely Glenn Rice by a little bit. Like, it's really close without the duo. I would say Glenn Rice is a tad bit better, but if we're counting with the duo, it gets a little bit more spicy, because stats wise, I would say all around probably go to Billy Knight, not by a crazy amount. Like, they're really going to be about the same stats wise, but stats wise they're about the same. Maybe Billy Knight's a little bit better. Badge count, that's where the biggest difference is probably between the cards, is the fact that Billy Knight's going to have 30 huffs, which is going to really help him out on the defensive end. Animations, I still will say I think I like Glenn Rice's jump shot more. Really comes down to preference, but I think I like Glenn releases a little bit more. I mean, that's close. Dribble sigs I also think is about the same. I mean, I would say with the duo, Billy Knight is better. Without the duo, I would say Glenn Rice is better, but I think the duo does make that big of a difference. So for this one, with the duo, I would start Ricky Davis, bench Billy Knight, and then cut Glenn Rice. Next one is going to be basically the same: Ricky Davis, Glenn Rice, Eddie Jones. I would say it's going to be in this order: start Ricky Davis, bench Glenn Rice, and then cut Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones is a really nice 2-guard. I just think that Glenn Rice is a tad bit better, nothing too crazy. Next one is going to be Bantam, Bender, and Isaac. For this one, I would start Jonathan Bender. I think he's 7 foot, or he is 7 foot, but he's an absolute demigod at that small forward position, being 7 foot, really good dribble sigs, has a great jump shot that's actually fairly quick. And then I would say most likely bench Jonathan Isaac and cut Mike Bantam, but that one is really close between Jonathan Isaac and Bantam. I just really like the defense that Isaac does bring to the table. I think he's just like a taller, a little bit skinnier Bill Russell is the way that I kind of look at it. He's 6'11" with a 7'2" wingspan, 98 block, 95 steal, 97 lateral quickness, 95 perimeter, and a 95 interior defense. And then he's just missing, you know, like maybe brick wall and rebound chaser and pick dodger would be nice to have in Hall of Fame, but he's got all the good Hall of Fame defensive badges. And then his jump shot is super money in my opinion. Bantam though, probably a better all-around card, so it's a close one. I would say Jonathan Isaac for the small forward position where you want a lockdown card, most likely a guy that can guard their best ball handler and just be your lockdown small forward. I would say start Jonathan Bender, bench Jonathan Isaac, and then cut Mike Bantam. But between Jonathan Isaac and Bantam, I think it's a really close debate and pretty much a 50-50. Next one is going to be Dark Matter Bill Russell, Dark Matter LeBron, and Dark Matter Grant Hill. I would say easily start Bill Russell. I think he's the best small forward in the game. But between LeBron and Grant Hill, I mean, it does get a little bit closer, I will say. At the small forward position, I don't know. I want to check out their stats and badges and kind of compare the cards, because they're going to be about the same player model wise, height and wingspan. I think LeBron definitely has the better player model though, not by a crazy margin, but that does make a big difference, is LeBron's player model. Stats wise, I mean, looks to be very similar. You could say maybe a slight edge to LeBron, but not going to really notice too big of a difference. Looking at the badges, I mean, they got pretty much the same badge count. LeBron's got 5 more golds. I mean, LeBron's got Hoff Limitless, Deadeye, Claymore, which is pretty nice. You know, Grant Hill's got the corner specialist, the guard up, the Agent 3. He's also got Hails for Days and Hyperdrive and Killer Combos, which is a pretty big difference for the playmaking side of things over LeBron. Defensively, that's where LeBron's going to be a little bit better with Chase out on Hoff, you know, Brick Wall on Hoff, ankle braces, you know, Menace is a little bit better. So I would say badges might go to Grant Hill by a tad bit, but it's really close. LeBron's also got like Hoff back down Punisher, which can be helpful. But then animations wise, I mean, jump shot, I would say Grant Hill's probably got the better release, not by a crazy bit, because I don't think either of these jump shots are anything too crazy, but LeBron's got way better dribble sigs. Like, the Kyle Lowry size up is way better than normal, and the John Wall escape, I mean, it's not even close. Like, the John Wall escape is 300 times better than pro. So I think for that reason, and he's also got the normal leaner compared to the Pro 3. So if Grant Hill had better sigs, I think he would be better than LeBron. But the fact that Grant Hill has no dribble sigs and his movements can be pretty bad, I would say start Bill Russell, bench LeBron, and then cut Grant Hill. I'm just going to kind of speed run here a couple of these and not really give a reason, but just go through and tell you guys who I'd start, who I'd bench, and then who I would cut. So for this one, Danny Ferry, Tim Thomas, and Jonathan Isaac, I would start Danny Ferry, bench Jonathan Isaac, and then cut Tim Thomas. At center next to Taco, who I usually move on to their big, Yee, KG, and Dark Matter D-Rob, I would say D-Rob starting, KG bench, and then cut Yee. Next one is going to be Magic Johnson, Scotty Barnes, and Sengun. I would start Scotty Barnes, bench Sengun, and then cut Magic. Next one is going to be Jonathan Bender, Rudy Gay, and Jonathan Isaac. I would start Bender, bench Isaac, and then cut Rudy Gay. Next one is going to be Booker, Harden, and Vince. I would start Booker, bench Vince, even though this is a weird one because I guess you're counting Harden as a 2 or a point guard. I'm not exactly sure. But if we're saying as a card, I guess, in general, then I would start Booker, bench Vince, and then cut James Harden. Bantam, LeBron, and Bill, I would start Bill, bench Bantam, and then cut LeBron. That's probably what I would do, but that one's really close to the small forward position. Jimmy, Booker, and Cade at point guard. To me, these are the 3 best point guards in the game, so I think we'll end with this one. I do think Cade is the best point guard in the game. I think it's really close between these 2 guys. I think Cade is just slightly better because of the front clutches. He has a little bit better of a player model, and I do prefer his jump shot a tad bit more over a card like Jimmy. So for me personally, I would start Cade, bench Jimmy Butler, and then cut Booker. I mean, Booker's really good on the offensive end. I just think Jimmy and Cade provide that much more on the defensive side of things. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of the Start Bench Cut series. Let me know in the comment section down below. Like I said at the start of the video, let me know 3 different players in the comment section, and like down below on the YouTube video, and I'll tell you guys who I'd start, who I'd bench, and then who I would cut. But hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.